championship so close you can taste it.
Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100.
Side by side. And your new champion, Kirsten Rasmussen. 30 seconds to go, so let's come back to the studio shot here right now as Dan Anderson, the CEO of Anderson Promotions, joins me. Obviously, it's been a great run with the stewardship of Indy Lights for the last number of years. Of course, Anderson taking over back in 2014. Dan, it's been a great run for sure for you. We're about ready to start things up here again. Indy Lights heading back to IndyCar stewardship. We thank everyone for all their support, and it's time to go racing. Dan, the command to fire the last Indy Lights race under the Anderson Promotions regime.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a great run, and we wish all the best to Indy Lights going forward and IndyCar's management. We will be rooting for these kids as they move into IndyCar. Gentlemen, start your Indy Lights engines.
And there you go, folks. Engines coming to life down there on pit lane. Dan Anderson, thank you so much. Of course, Dan has done so much for this Road to Indy program and Indy Lights as well. You're here right now. I'll ask you a couple of quick questions. It is amazing, as the drivers, of course, starting engines, we're going to get a chance to see the careers of so many drivers that have come through the entire Road to Indy who are now in IndyCar and maybe in IndyCar in the next number of years.
It's fun, and I love watching IndyCar races with all the people that have come through over the last 10 or 12 years. Lately, it's been really successful. The kids graduating from the Road to Indy have done extremely well on their first and second years. The program's working, and we'll see it again. The kids this year have been very competitive. I expect great things from them. Kyle Kirkwood's been amazing. He's been a champion every step of the way. David Malucas, they're all going to do great.
It's kind of like we've seen a couple of these guys. It's always like two drivers, right? It's Colton Herta and Pato. They had that battle. Then we've got Renus and Oliver, and now we've got David Malucas and Kyle Kirkwood. And I think one of the beautiful things is we really you're turning the Indy Lights program back to IndyCar, but we've done so with a ton of momentum. We're talking about 2-3 more teams next year, maybe 15 to 18 drivers. It feels to me like the work that we've done over the last couple of years really has paid off.
And we'll continue to do it. With the Indy Pro 2000 moving into Indy Lights, we'll still graduate people into Indy Lights. USF 2000 into Indy Pro, and now with the USF Juniors as an entry level before you get to the Road to Indy. I think it's all going to be great. Agreed,
and that's exactly what's going to happen, folks. Indy Pro 2000, those drivers that we will continue to groom for years to come, making their way up to Indy Lights and then into the NTT IndyCar Series. Drivers have worked their way around the racetrack right now. We'll let Dan Anderson get himself back to race control. We'll bring Parker Thompson back in here as well.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. And Dan giving us the call to fire up the engines both Saturday and Sunday, race 1 and race 2. Dan, of course, will take up his spot, as he always does, in race control to oversee the action. Parker Thompson getting the headset back on to join me here once again. And, Parker, this could be very interesting because we have not seen a race this year with this kind of conditions. There are 450 horsepower behind every one of these drivers. You've driven an Indy Lights car before. I'm not sure if it's been in the rain. This cannot be easy.
Definitely wasn't in the wet. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers handle that. And a lot of pressure. You know, it's not over till the fat lady sings, Rob, and the fat lady hasn't sung for Kyle Kirkwood yet. You know, I know he's starting 5th. He has to finish 12th, essentially, and David Malucas has to win. But you look at Malucas, he was fast in the wet. I mean, if you win the race, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get the most laps led point. So you can almost hand that to him if Malucas has a clean race. And it is a lot easier to have a clean race at the front than it is to have it in 5th.
Yeah, isn't this crazy right now to think the fact that the run we've had from Kyle Kirkwood, it is not done yet. If something should happen to him on the opening lap, anything could happen in racing, right? And he finishes last, and Malucas could still steal this away.
Now, you have to say there's 3 other Andretti Autosport cars out there. I don't want to get any conspiracy theories going, but the 2 biggest teams, HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group and Andretti Autosport, they've got 3 bullets in the gun each. Well, I guess Global actually at 2 bullets in the gun with HMD Motorsports. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the team tactics play out. I mean, I think from what I've been told, you can almost guarantee that David will see no challenge at the front.
No.
And then, you look at Andretti Autosport, you've got Devlin DeFrancesco there qualifying ahead of Kyle Kirkwood. Does he challenge Kyle? Probably not a lot. You know, Kyle's surrounded by his teammates there. I don't think he'll see any trouble. So really, it's in Kyle's court to lose. He's got to get through the first lap, and then I think we'll probably see somebody drop out. And that is the kicker right there. If somebody else drops out of this race to take 12th position, 12 out of 12,
that's it.
Kyle has got it in the bag. He's got to finish one more lap than whoever drops out.
Yeah, indeed. If we have one retirement, that will be the end of it for sure for David Malucas. He, of course, has what he can do in his hand. He's qualified on the pole. If he can lead here all the laps, or at least the most laps, to be able to get the race win, he'll do everything he possibly can.
So let me ask you this, Rob. I've never known this. Two drivers go off, one being Kyle Kirkwood, somebody else being not in the championship. They go off on the first lap. Does it go to where they cross the start-finish line, or does it go to what car made it further around the track if said position happens?
Well, I'm not the race director, so I'm not sure, knowing that we don't have as many timing lines as we normally do when IndyCar race control is here. I would make the assumption that we would go back to the last completed lap, but I don't know about that. That's not something that I have here. We'd have to ask Tony Cottman about that. We'll see if that comes into play. But regardless, difficult conditions, and I think that's what opens up to this question, right? Because the conditions are so difficult, you don't know what's going to happen here on track.
Well, and if I'm Kyle Kirkwood, I'm going, if I make contact with somebody in front of me, I'm screwed because they cross the start-finish theoretically ahead of me.
Yep, that's true.
But if somebody makes contact with me, it's no big deal because
Yep.
we both sit out, and
That's true.
I cross the start-finish line ahead of him. No harm, no foul. I get my 11th place finish, which grants me one more point, which would be the second time he's done that in the history of his Road to Indy career.
That's it. There's an opportunity for him, depending on how things shake down, to win this championship by only 1 point. That's how close it is. David Malucas, like I said, though, folks, has done everything he needed to do, and that was win the pole position for race number 2. And indeed, in these kind of conditions, if you're able to get out front and you have a good feel for your race car and be able to pull away, you could eventually lead all 30 laps and come away with that race win, the full points of 32 markers. You can't expect that you're going to see Linus Lundqvist or Benjamin Peterson, even if they have the speed, to potentially able to go by.
100%, Rob.
Yep.
And just like we saw in USF 2000, it's going to be a single-file race start for the Premier Series on the Road to Indy here in Indy Lights.
So drivers working their way out of turn number 9 down into Thunder Valley. That pace car will speed up to get away from them to allow them to have that open start. And we'll see the pace car kind of work their way up here once we move to the next shot. There it is there, the pace car working from the left of the screen through the carousel. Turn number 12 will stay high on the racetrack. No, back around the racetrack again, so we're going to go one more time around. One more time. It'll be the white flag at the line to get things underway.
Now, did I miscount that, Rob? That could have totally been on me. I thought that was second time by.
I did too.
Okay, all right. Well, then if it trumped us both, then I'm fine with that.
Well, we had a lot going on here right now. Danny Anderson coming to join us here. I pulled up the wrong race start to get things underway. A little bit discombobulated for the start, but we've settled in. And again, one more lap around for the drivers here who are ready to roll for what will be the last race of the 2021 Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tire season. And having Dan on here, the final year that Indy Lights will be part of the Andrew Promotions component of this Road to Indy. We wish the best to everyone at IndyCar, those that will take up station in the positions, race control, marketing, PR, whatever it may be, to take the stewardship of this tremendous program, which we're proud to have watched so many great drivers. You go back to the earlier days when Anderson had it, 2014, 2015, with Jack Harvey, Ed Jones, Max Chilton coming in the year with Carlin in 2015 when the new race car was brought in. And then we go, as I said, to some of these awesome rivalries we've had that have kind of seen those drivers move forward. The Colton Herta and Pato Award year, Oliver Askew versus Renus VK, and now this year, of course, Kyle Kirkwood versus David Malucas. Both of you, I think, expecting that we're going to see both those drivers moving their way into IndyCar next year.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the battle takes on. An interesting note, last night we went to the Ohio State Reformatory Prison that nobody told me. I thought it was a Cooper Tires event that did a tour prison. It was a haunted house, a professional haunted house that went through a real-life haunted prison. David Malucas was the only brave soul out of all the RTI drivers to show up to that.
All right.
And he went through it with me. So if I'm sure he's going, you know what, driving in the rain here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course can't be scarier than doing the haunted house with Parker.
That's fun. He was scared fast.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. So, again, folks, the final warm-up lap of the 2021 season that will go green this time by David Malucas alongside his teammate Linus Lundqvist. And he won't be alongside, actually. It'll be nose to tail. As Parker had said, it'll be a single-file start. So Malucas on the front. Linus Lundqvist there in second. Third, Benjamin Peterson. Fourth, Devlin DeFrancesco. Fifth, Kyle Kirkwood. Sixth will be Robert McGinnis. Seventh, And 8th, the two Juncos Hollinger drivers, Rasmuth Lint and Stingray Robb. 9th, Daniel Frost. 10th, Manuel Suleiman. 11th, Antonio Saravalli. And 12th, Christian Bogle. Field getting set. The grip level's low, as we saw in USF 2000. It'll be all about getting away cleanly here for David Malucas. Same for Kyle Kirkwood. He only needs to finish in the top 11 to win this championship. If Malucas ends up going for the race win or coming up to the start, you can just look to me like Lundqvist getting ready to push hard. And we are underway. Green flag racing. Look at the 3 HMD cars pull away. Kirkwood going to dive to the inside a little bit. He's surrounded by his teammates.
Malucas.
One driver off. That's David Malucas off the racetrack. Malucas overcooks into turn number 1. He will continue. And with Malucas off the track, potentially stuck, he's trying to get out of the gravel trap in the far part there. I don't know that he's going to be able to get out of the gravel trap at this point. So David Malucas could be stuck in the beach of turn number 1. Nope. Crawling his way back further there. I think he was able to get back. Parker, once things settle in, we'll ask to see if we can't go back to the replay there. But right now, Linus Lundqvist has pulled out front. Peterson into second. DeFrancesco third. And I think that's Kyle Kirkwood, P4. That could be it for the championship right there. David Malucas needed to win with all the laps led. I believe if that's him off the racetrack, this is done.
Wow, if you're Kyle Kirkwood, I mean, that one got sat right on your lap as you drive by.
Is that something that you would have called? I personally would have not. I thought Malucas would have been clean through turn number 1, not even pressured, but he was pressured hard from behind by Lundqvist.
Well, it's not about the pressure behind, it's about the championship. You do
Okay.
different things when that weighs on your shoulders. And unfortunately, you know, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, you make one wrong step here in the wet, and it's like you hit a banana peel in Mario Kart. You spin out, you're off. And, wow, you know, we saw 2020, I believe, the wet race at Indy Pro that I was a part of. All the leaders went off in the first lap just like that as well. It looks like Kyle Kirkwood has made some hay while the sun shines. I want to say he's in second or third.
Yeah, full course yellow coming out right now. Full course yellow on the opening lap, and the absolute craziness has happened. David Malucas, looks like we could potentially have a driver off down in turn number 4 as well. Somebody's off in turn 4. The AMR safety team has gone to turn number 4 as well. As we said, David Malucas off in turn number 1. Maybe we'll get a chance to see that replay. Hopefully we can. Being told that might be Antonio Saravalli off in turn number 4 on that opening circuit. But Parker, I'm a little bit at a loss for words as the transition from that shot coming down into turn number 1, then a shot we have on the exit of the corner to see that car of Malucas all the way off the racetrack and then try to get out of the gravel trap. I don't know what to say right now. It just absolutely blows me away. He actually comes across the line. Malucas now in the 10th position, but he needed to lead every lap to get an opportunity to get this done. Having fallen to the tail of the field, this championship is Kyle Kirkwood's.
Well, he needed to lead the most laps, which is over the halfway point in order to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely a big blow. I'm sure as we're lost for words, Malucas was lost for words going through the gravel trap too. It's one of those things that happens so quick. Good on him to get out of the gravel trap. That would have been a pretty embarrassing way to lose a championship, being stuck in the gravel trap after starting on pole. But it's just one of those deals, Rob. You can't fault him. I mean, yeah, he made a mistake. Yeah, it wasn't probably a mistake you thought a championship competitor would make, but I think that goes right back to he's in the battle for a championship. There's the replay.
We'll get the replay
that we're going to get up.
Yeah, they're setting it up for us here right now, this replay. And you're right, it's not something you would have figured. Let's have a look. We're going to get a partial replay here, folks, of what happened. This is essentially him after coming through turn. Yeah, he's already off the racetrack, has overcooked it. Good on him for keeping the thing going in the right direction, as you said, keeping enough throttle in it not to spin the tires and get bogged down. And again, there's that replay there. That's about as much as we can see. You can see the other two guys have been able to make the corner and just overcooking it, trying to carry too much speed into one.
Well, what that tells you, you see how early he was off the track and into the gravel trap. You know, he went off super early. You can see that darker grass.
Yep.
That's where he went through the grass. So he was off, not even at the apex of the corner. He's off on the entry.
So
Too much speed, too cold of tires.
Lock the brakes up potentially coming in there, you think?
Yeah, probably, but it got to the point where the tire will only do 100% of what you ask it.
Yep.
So if you're in the middle of the corner and you're still trying to slow the car down and turn the car, your lock is so much more able to happen when you're asking the tire to do a lateral and brake the car versus just doing one or the other.
Some really great insight for those of you with winter coming and don't realize that, and that's about it. The tire can only do 100% of either braking, turning, or acceleration. There's only so much, so if you're asking for more acceleration, you're not going to get the turning. Same thing as if you're driving a car and in the snow and you're on the brakes and you're turned, it's not going anywhere. You have to let off the brakes, right, for the car to be able to turn.
Well, and think about this, Rob. I take it back to everybody knows what their footprint looks like because most people have seen their footprint in the mud. Now, you take these Cooper tires, and you've got 4 Cooper tires that are touching the ground. The 2 in the rear have to put power down, and then the 2 in the front have to steer the car. But you are asking a footprint. So when you put these Cooper tires on the ground, the only part that's actually making contact with the pavement is a part about what an average human's footprint is. Wow. So you have 4 footprints that have to put down 450 horsepower and turn this car around this track in the wet for an Indy Lights race. It just kind of puts it into perspective. You know, I'm sure everybody on the broadcast has slipped and fell down once in their life. I sure have. And that was with 1 human horsepower that I slipped and fell down with. You know, you think about this Indy Lights car, it really puts it into perspective how much you're asking out of these Cooper tires.
Let's have a look at that field as we're going to go, I believe, green this time by. Linus Lundqvist taking over the lead. Benjamin Peterson into second. Devlin DeFrancesco third. Kyle Kirkwood now into 4th spot. Stingray Rob in 5th. Rasmuth Lint runs 6th. Daniel Frost 7th. Robert McGinnis in 8th. Manuel Suleiman 9th. David Malucas in 10th. Christian Bogle in 11th. And Antonio Serravalle down a couple of laps, having gone off in turn number 4. He was the one that actually brought out the full course yellow. He wouldn't have had that had it not been because David Malucas was able to get back onto the track. This is going to allow Malucas to potentially work his way forward, but as we have said, he needed to lead the most laps, at least 16 of the 30, to potentially score this championship, and that's not going to happen for Malucas, which again, passing this lead over to Kyle Kirkwood. Drivers now coming out of the carousel. Linus Lundqvist will lead him back to the line. He'll punch on the throttle, and we are back to racing to put lap 4 in the books. Green flag.
Already had a spinner there coming through turn 13. Just shows how treacherous it is. But the 2 Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports cars out to a great jump.
Stingray Rob able to work his way up to P5. We talked about a driver potentially looping it around. Here's the first run at speed for Lundqvist now down into turn number 2 as he will lead it going to the outside line as we've talked about throughout the day. Little different line to the bottom for Kyle Kirkwood holding on to that position. Look at Stingray Rob around the outside of Devlin DeFrancesco. I think Stingray potentially has gone to P4.
Very nice for Stingray Rob. Bit of a redemption from yesterday. I think he needs that.
Yeah, Kyle Kirkwood now up into the 3rd position. There he is, P3. Here's the battle between Rob and DeFrancesco. Devlin holding on to the spot. He's running the bottom. Stingray Rob up on the top. And a little indication right there of that particular shot, how tough it is to see.
Oh, it's incredibly tough to see, Rob, as we've covered. It's getting a little better for the Indy Lights guys, but even the top rung of the road to Indy, they're making mistakes. Looks like we've got Manuel Suleiman off.
Yep. Another full course yellow. Manuel Suleiman off the racetrack with the number 59.
I want to say that was coming to the start, coming to 13, through 13.
Yeah, you mentioned the driver had spun around. Sounds like that might have been the 59 of Manuel Suleiman. That would be on the outside of turn number 13, the inside of the racetrack, coming back over to that left-hander, looped it around, and potentially went off track. So the Telcel-sponsored HMD Motorsports driver off in turn 13.
So we look at the field. If you're Kyle Kirkwood, there's a lot of thoughts going through your head. I saw Antonio Serravalle pull into the pits. Not sure if that's terminal or not. But now it's looking like there's going to be enough cars out of this race. David Malucas nowhere near the front to get that extra lap bonus point. How aggressive do you think Kyle Kirkwood is chasing those 2 orange, pumpkin-colored Global Racing Group with HMD cars?
At $1.3 million to just get to the checkered flag, I don't think that Kyle Kirkwood pushes that hard. I think there's an opportunity to potentially go for the win. I think if one driver is out for sure and he knows that they're done and the driver's out of the car and not coming back out, I think that maybe you push hard. Maybe you try to go for the win to put the exclamation point. Remember, he's trying to break the record as well in terms of race wins. He's tied now for 10 wins in a single season in Indy Lights with the late Greg Moore. So he'd love win number 11, but I think taking care of $1.3 million in that scholarship is probably first and foremost.
Well, definitely first and foremost, but obviously I think if he's a betting man, he's going, okay, I've got it. But he's got to prove that he can drive in the wet. That's one thing that a lot of IndyCar teams, I feel like they'll put a lot of merit on.
All right.
Is if he can't drive in the wet, that's going to be scary when you get to an IndyCar ride.
Yeah, indeed. Again, you balance that. Does he drive with his head at this point? If he knows he's got things locked down, if we know that Antonio Serravalle is not coming back out onto the racetrack racetrack, or if he's gone back to the point where even if he retired, he wouldn't finish last. I think that would be fine. As you know, you said, wherever David Malucas is obviously changes it as well. And to be honest, once we get by the halfway point as well, and there's not a chance for Malucas to somehow get back up front, mathematically it's not going to happen, but Kirkwood could potentially then, if he wanted, attack and try to go for a race win. That would be the exclamation point, as I said. What a way to finish if he's able to get by both these guys and win.
That would be the one exclamation point, as you said, to decimate the field here in Indy Lights, is to put a cap on his 2021 season. And really, you're hearing rumors that he might not have a full-time ride next year in IndyCar. I think if he goes out and wins this, how do you not get the kid in IndyCar?
Well, I don't know how you do it already, having won the 10 races that he has, 7 poles. He's been on the podium 14 times this year. The simple string of races that he has had when he turned things around and swept at Detroit. Only one race from Detroit has he not finished first or second. He finished 12th after the issue at Road America. We're going to go back to green here right now. This is like the first time he's running P3 right now. He's always been in first or second. We're not said and done yet. He'll get a good start, as will the front runner Linus Lundqvist, as he looks to get another win. Lundqvist, 2 races victorious early in the season, has not yet had that third win. It could come here today on the very wet track at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Final race of the season for the Indy Lights program. Rob Howden alongside Parker Thompson here in the Road to Indy studio as we provide coverage here from Mid-Ohio. Much different racing line. You can see the 2 HMD cars. Parker working the top line, that rim shot, as you said, around the outside. Down the inside, though, trying to hook the inside of the corner. Looks like Kyle Kirkwood trying something a bit different.
Yeah, but look at that lead that Linus Lundqvist has got. I'm going, okay, I think he's doing a pretty good traditional rim shot there. We'll see. Obviously, I've heard that there's that concrete patch has a lot of grip, actually, that new one that they just put in for 2021. So we'll see different drivers. I see the Andretti Autosport guys playing with it. But at the same time, those Global Racing Group cars look pretty quick at the moment.
Stingray Rob put a lot of pressure on Devlin DiFrancesco after that last restart. He's fallen back a little bit, back into the clutches of his teammate Rasmus Lint. David Malucas and Daniel Frost right behind them. Trying to battle it out a little bit here. Lundqvist holding out a pretty decent lead, as Parker had said, stretching out nicely. Kirkwood now has DiFrancesco right behind him. So Kirkwood runs third, DiFrancesco fourth. That's them right there coming over turn number 9. Not that far back right there. In fact, Stingray Rob closing up a bit. And there's Malucas coming to the inside now of Daniel Frost coming out of turn 9. So we'll move David Malucas up potentially into the 7th position if he gets that run up there to turn number 10, coming out of Thunder Valley and up over top of the blind, turn number 11. Indeed done. Looks to me like, Malucas has worked his way by now into the 7th position.
What an awesome line the Global Racing guys have through that last section. I've driven in the wet a few times, and that is just textbook. Look at the lead they stretched out. That's probably a second of lap time sitting right there in turn 12 and turn 13.
Yeah, and listen, it's all about getting that car rotated and on the throttle early, right, to be able to work your way to that corner, get down that throttle. Because if you're turning, if you got input in the wheel, you just simply can't get on the throttle. You can do that once the wheel's wound back out again. Car's got to be straight to get that throttle down, and we've seen some really good runs. I think we're going to see a battle here between Stingray Rob and Devlin DiFrancesco again as well. Very different lines coming through the keyhole. DiFrancesco kind of following suit with Kirkwood and staying inside, while way around the outside goes Stingray Rob. Longer run around the outside, Parker, but you get back on the throttle a lot earlier.
I think Stingray Rob probably one of the hungriest guys on the road to Indy to try and get a podium.
Being told potential, at least we have a yellow flag in turn number 1. A driver has gone off. Not quite sure who that is at this point here, but a driver has gone off and back on the racetrack in turn number 1. We'll try to identify that car momentarily for you. It might be, I think it's Robert McGinnis. Yeah, McGinnis off in the number 27. So he'll drop down to the 9th or 10th position. There's the gap right now between 3rd and 4th, and that is Kirkwood and DiFrancesco. Again, seeing that over turn number 9. This is Stingray Rob. Talk about trying a bunch of different lines. You see a lot of these guys, you mentioned this earlier, getting diamonded and really coming down a lot closer, a lot tighter on the exit of turn number 9.
Oh, I love the wet. I mean, let's just keep it on this pan right here. You see the 2 Global Racing Group of the HMD cars, really unique line. Then watch Kyle Kirkwood. Maybe he's going to switch it up here. No, he stays on the outside through 13 to try and rim shot, but he still cuts back. So watch how they are trying to go over the rubber straight. That is the key, folks. Now you see David Malucas trying to get a run there. He did a good job. I think he'll be able to attack Rasmus Lindqvist down to turn 1. Whoa, a little under over. He thinks better of it.
Hold your breath on that one. But, yeah, great Parker giving us a couple of different insights there. Much different line laid down by Lundqvist. Gets the car turned big time and rotated straight much earlier than every other driver coming back through, even more than his teammate getting that car straightened and coming across the actual race line, as Parker had said. You could see guys like DeFrancesco going way wide, running that traditional rain line around the outside, but it's all about searching for grip, Parker, is it not? Every racetrack's different. Track's going to change as the day goes on, but you're always searching for what may be the best opportunity, the best line to be able to get that power down.
Well, and it's time versus distance, Rob. I'm sure you've heard that quite a few times in the broadcast booth. But really, where all the time lies is getting that 450 horsepower down on the pavement and not wheel spinning and not sitting there, not wasting the time. So you watch Linus Lundqvist just doing an awesome job. You know, Swedish, he's driven a few times in the rain, British F3 champion, so you can't win that championship without driving a lot in the wet. Just watch how in control he is. You know, you watch some guys at the back, you see that yellow car, Devlin DeFrancesco a few times, or the Stingray Rob, Rasmus Lind. They're getting the car sideways a lot more than the guys at the front are, and because getting sideways is basically going nowhere. Yeah. Your wheels are spinning, you're not going anywhere. Watch these two guys right here at the front. Obviously, Benjamin, he's getting a little sideways there, but for the most part, super clean, super calm. We watch Kyle Kirkwood, it's going to be very similar. A lot of experience. Gets a little slippery there. I'm surprised Kyle Kirkwood, he's almost caught onto that line. I'm surprised he hasn't seen his butt getting kicked. Whoa, and there we go. Rasmus Lind gets turned around by David Malucas.
Yeah, that's contact between those two drivers coming through. Lind was trying to get back to the right side of the racetrack. It looked like a little bit of contact there with David Malucas coming out of turn number 12. That was the fight for 6th and 7th position between Malucas and Rasmus Lind. Rasmus going to fall down now to a couple of spots. Let's have a look at that again, Parker. You can kind of walk us through that a little bit, what happened. But essentially, David Malucas was putting a lot of pressure on Lint trying to go by, and that seemed to me like, here it is here. Well, watch the transition.
You know what? No contact at all.
You're
We're
right.
sorry, folks. Again, another missed call by Parker Thompson. Not the first, won't be the last.
Listen, when we looked up at it, it looked like easily like it could have been a little bit of a tap, but you can see them coming through. This really is just Rasmus Link. You can see a big wider run coming out of that corner for David Malucas. That car was a little wiggly and literally just started to transition as he got back on the throttle. Still had some of that wheel in it, right?
Yep, and you cannot, it's almost like a string is tied to your steering wheel and your pedals. And essentially, you've got to get that steering wheel straight. And when you get the steering wheel straight, the string comes up. You can press the pedals down. That's how I was 8 years old, and Alan Berg back in Calgary put on a wet driving school and taught me that. And I've pretty well taken that through any four-wheel automobile that I've driven.
Well, I'll tell you this right now, and I know we talked about this after the USF 2000 race. Based on some of the action we saw from the USF 2000 drivers, it seems to me like we need to have potentially a rain driving clinic as well at the start of the 2022 season, because there were a lot of USF 2000 drivers there that didn't realize you need to be real soft on the throttle. Guys were just on it left and right.
No, and it's tough, right? I mean, if you've only driven in dry conditions, the more aggressive you drive, the faster you go. Rain is a different art form.
Yeah. And there is an art of racing in the rain, no doubt about it. Look at this scrap we've got going here right now.
That is David Malucas, Stingray Rob, and Devlin DeFrancesco all getting crossed up going through one. Whoa, we got was that a spin? It was a spin in turn one.
Was that Stingray Rob potentially going around?
Potentially that was Stingray, yeah. And we've got David Malucas gets a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah, Malucas is all the way up, I think, into potentially the 4th spot. We're going to find out what's going on. Kirkwood spun too. Kirkwood has fallen to the back a little bit.
Yes.
Kyle Kirkwood back into 6th. So Kirkwood went around. Stingray Rob, I think, went around as well. David Malucas back potentially P3 right now, able to get around Devlin DeFrancesco. So Malucas back to 3rd. And listen, we're talking about how tough these conditions are. Kudos to Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Peterson who have handled it thus far.
Does the team order call come? Okay, Rob, do we have a car that has dropped out of this race? Antonio Saravalli 2 laps down. I am betting money that HMD Motorsports is having a pretty big discussion right now. They've got the potential to get David Malucas back in the lead.
Kyle Kirkwood I want to say Kirkwood might have just let Frost go by there at one point. We'll have a look what happens. We're going to press the reset button when they come back around. We have had a lot of changes here. Kyle Kirkwood slowing a little bit on the racetrack. DeFrancesco, I want to say Daniel Frost able to slide by. Here goes Kirkwood. I don't know if there's an issue right now for Kyle Kirkwood or what's going on. Yes, right now 4 laps down in total is Antonio Serravalle. Here come the drivers through here now. That's David Malucas, I think, running now in the 3rd spot. So Lundqvist leads, Peterson second. We'll set when they come back around here. Waiting for live timing to update for us here. We'll give it a reset.
What a turn of events. So we're at the 11 laps out of 30 completed. HMD Motorsports has 4 laps to see if they make the call. If I'm in the booth, Rob, I'm not on the team, but I would say that they're going to let David Malucas go to the lead before the 4 laps is up. And then if Kyle Kirkwood does not finish in the 12th position, they will do another team order to get Linus Lundqvist back in the lead of the race and get Benjamin Peterson by.
Wow.
That is my we'll see if I'm right.
If you're the team manager, that's the call you're making?
That's the call I'm making without a hesitation right now. You have to do it.
So Global Racing Group with HMD running 1-2 with Linus Lundqvist and Benjamin Peterson. David Malucas now runs in the 3rd spot, but he is 12 seconds back, 22 seconds behind Linus Lundqvist. Malucas runs P3 after that incident in Turn 1. DeFrancesco 4th, Daniel Frost 5th. Kyle Kirkwood still running in the 6th spot. 7th is Rasmus Lint. 8th is Stingray Robb. 9th, Robert McGinnis. 10th, Christian Bogle. 11th, Manuel Suleiman. And 12th right now, Antonio Serravalle is now 6 laps back.
It's going to be really interesting here, Rob. We've got, like I said, 4 laps to see if Global Racing Group and HMD Motorsports are going to play nice within the team.
The issue right now, I think, it looks to me like Antonio Serravalle, looking at live timing, he is down as a mechanical. That could be it for him. If he is off the racetrack and done on pit lane, that would be it, because that would mean the worst that Kyle Kirkwood could finish would be 11th, and that would be enough to secure the championship. Regardless of what David Malucas does, if Kirkwood's able to finish in the 11th spot, that would be 530 points. The best Malucas could do would be 530, and Kirkwood would win the tiebreaker, 10 wins against 8 for
9,
Malucas.
right? Because if Malucas won the race.
Malucas won 7 so
right.
far. So
My
it would be
apologies.
8 victories. So it would be 10-8. The tiebreaker would go to Kirkwood. So if indeed Serravalle done, which it looks like he may be done and off the racetrack, that would be it for him. That would end this championship here. Is that Kirkwood slowing again, or that may be McGinnis rolling around here? Bottom line right now is Linus Lundqvist is putting on a wet weather clinic. He has been unbelievably impressive and very, very consistent. A 12-second lead so far. Fast lap, though, laid down by, last lap by David Malucas, a 141.61. He literally has the fast lap of the race as well. No bonus point in Indy Lights for fast lap because we don't have push to pass. And even though we don't have it this weekend, no push to pass. And there you go, folks. The championship is done. Steve Whittick coming here with information from the paddock. The number 11, Antonio Serravalle, the car back in the paddock. He is out of the race car. The worst that Kyle Kirkwood could finish is 11th. We have ourselves a champion in Indy Lights.
Pretty wild, Rob.
Yeah, I know.
Kyle Kirkwood does like to make our job a little more difficult in the booth.
Kirkwood running in that 6th position right now. He did have his own spin, I believe, coming out of because he was running in the 3rd spot. So obviously some kind of an issue for Kyle to fall down into the 6th position. But this is the worst he has finished. Will be the worst he has finished since Road America back in June. But the bottom line is he will walk away with a $1.3 million scholarship following in the footsteps of some tremendous drivers over the last number of years for Andretti Autosport. And let's just say this, too. You look at the team championship and the battles we've had. Andretti Autosport has had the team champion over the last number of years. But HMD and Global Racing Group, these guys have put themselves to the point where we have ourselves a couple of really, really impressive championships going on.
Well, and what a way to finish the championship 1, 2, 3 if that ends up being set in stone. And not only that, Linus Lundqvist, a guy who's vying for an IndyCar ride, he's vying just to be back in a seat next year. For him to go out and absolutely dominate, that is what he needs to do, especially in the Great Equalizer, which is pretty interesting. You know, I don't think Kyle Kirkwood has been beat by his teammates too many times. So to say it's raining and this is where we see everything even out, Kyle might be doing some testing with some sprinklers on.
That's it. Yeah. Here's one of the things I find interesting as well coming into this event. In terms of the team championship, it is 625 to 595. So HMD Motorsports with the lead in the championship right now over Andretti Autosport by 30 markers to see whether HMD can get that team championship. As they run right now, HMD 3rd and 11th, Andretti 4th and 5th. So I would likely say that the HMD potentially getting a chance to win this team championship.
Well, HMD Motorsports, that does include Global Racing Group, am I correct? So they're 1-2.
Ooh, that's true. It says HMD. I was looking at the team championship. I thought maybe Global Racing Group is a secondary team. But yeah, if they're 1, 2, 3, then it's a done deal for sure.
I believe,
Yep.
yes, 1, 2, 3.
So Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports having the 1-2, they will definitely grab that team championship. Lundqvist and Peterson, Malucas and DiFrancesco in 3rd and 4th. Been a good run for David Malucas as well, coming from the tail of the field regardless. Getting himself back up to 3rd. Not the finish he wanted to try to get this championship away, but again, all signs point to a bright future for the young driver from Chicago, Illinois.
Well, and the one thing, Malucas, you can go to bed easy tonight knowing that Antonio Saravalli had a mechanical to no fault of his own.
Yep.
Even if you went out and dominated the race, unfortunately, you would be tied.
Yeah.
And the tie goes to the runner, which is Kyle Kirkwood.
Lundqvist turning the fast lap of the race, getting down to a 141.217, a 14-second lead here for Lundqvist. We're just coming to the halfway point of this 30-lap race. Lap 15 will go in the books. Still a long way to go in this particular race as well.
If I'm Linus Lundqvist, I'm going, Kyle Kirkwood kicked my butt by 26 seconds at Laguna Seca. I'm going to go kick his butt by 26 seconds.
Here comes the payback, right?
So explain to me this. I hear that this 26 seconds in Indy Lights was the largest victory. Is that in the dry at a road course?
Again, I don't have that information. That's a Steve Wittick, Diane Swintel question. Why are you asking me?
I know they're going to be listening to this broadcast. We'll see if it gets back to us. But I tell you what, if I'm Global Racing Group and I'm Linus Lundqvist, I'm out there to make a point today.
You want this?
And I'm
Yeah.
taking no prisoners. So I would go take that one little record just as a chink to give back to Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, and out of the gate, Linus Lundqvist was kind of one of the guys we expected to run for the championship, right? Coming off a very successful, dominating year in the Formula Regional America Series, comes over here to the road to Indy finally, gets into Indy Lights, wins the opening round, then moves to St. Petersburg, Indianapolis, scores a win there on the road course at IMS. This is a guy like you're in the middle of a championship contention, but just didn't quite have that enough to continue battling with Kirkwood and Malucas, right? They're the only drivers that have won here in 2021. How satisfying, you can say this as a driver, how satisfying will it be for him to really dominate in a race in the wet where really it comes down to the driver, right?
Oh, super satisfying. And you look at the back half of his season, I don't believe he's won a race since Indianapolis. And
Yeah,
Indy
that's
was
it.
a long time ago.
That's
That's the
it.
month of May.
Yep.
So just that little feeling of a win to go into the offseason. I'm sure he's going to go back home to Sweden. He's got an awesome family and a girlfriend there. He'll recoup and then get back stateside, and hopefully we see him either back behind the wheel of an Indy Lights car or back into an Indy car where he belongs.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if he does come back to Indy Lights, this is the guy that everybody's going to have to be running after the championship. You mentioned the fact that he hasn't won since Indianapolis, and that's true. He had a bit of a run there through Road America, Mid-Ohio, and Worldwide Technology Race where he wasn't on the podium. Last 5 races, he's been on the podium 4 times in the last 5 races. 6th yesterday, going to come back today and potentially put it down on these guys. Still a long way to go, just past the halfway point, but a 17-second advantage already here.
Well, I go back to that 26 seconds. He's 9 seconds away, and he's only halfway in this race. But I look at a guy like Linus Lundqvist. One of the things that impresses me, and if I'm a team owner, I'm looking at it, Worldwide Technology Raceway, he had a crash to no fault of his own.
Yep.
How did he rebound from that? Number one, he's not a driver with a ton of budget. You know, he came into this year with just enough to make sure that he compete for the
Agreed.
championship.
Yep.
It wasn't budgeted to have an event like that. So for him and his group to put their heads down and him come back here, strong third in the championship and to get another win, I think that's pretty impressive.
Chatting with Steve Wittick from TSOladder.com and reminding us that Jack Harvey won here back in 2014 by 17.3 seconds, so already an 18.1 second advantage for Linus Lundqvist. So if indeed that win by Jack Harvey, the biggest margin of victory in Indy Lights over the last number of years, this is super impressive to see what he's been able to do here in the wet. Because listen, the bottom line is this is all about the driver. We do have a driver off here, Manuel Christian Bogle. Parker back off coming out of turn number 4. This could be tough. He did not come back onto the racetrack wisely with drivers coming through, but he's in the grass right now. Does he spin the tires? Is he able to get back on? Nicely done, Christian, because it's so easy to spin the tires and potentially high center yourself there. He gets back on the racetrack, and the beauty of that is we stay green.
I tell you what, in that shot, we've got Malucas catching Benjamin Peterson at a pretty rapid pace right now. That's going to be a nice little battle for second.
Yeah, how about 2 seconds a lap faster? Last time by a 142.2 for Peterson, a 140.2 for Malucas. Malucas was also 0.8 quicker than Lundqvist. that last lap. So Malucas has reset fast lap of 140.201, very similar lap times to Lundqvist. So again, if you're using the performance here in the wet as kind of a measure of the driver, and the team, of course, they've given these guys great race cars as the Global Racing Group at HMD guys now 1, 2, 3. To see the speed of David Malucas, another indication of the talent for this young driver, has been able to put him to 7 wins here in 2021, lines him up nicely to potentially be one of the rookies that we've been able to see really make things happen here in Indy Lights.
It's going to be really interesting. Obviously, I know Benjamin hearing the rumors that he's coming back to the series possibly. It'd be a really good way to go out on a high. Rob, you'll know the stats on this. In the last couple races, he's had a top 5 Ridley since Road America.
And this is it. The thing about Kyle Kirkwood. Kyle Kirkwood, you mean? Or
Benjamin Peterson.
Peterson, his second half of the season has been unbelievably strong. Ended up with 4 podiums, but got on a run, as you said, kind of got rolling at Indianapolis and got things back to where he wanted to be. Road America, I think it was that big second-place finish at Road America that kind of turned things around for him.
It's interesting as we talk about Benjamin. You saw him dive to the bottom of the racetrack. He's trying to get those Cooper tire wets, more wet weather. Obviously, the tires are probably getting pretty hot at this moment. That tells me that his tires are starting to fall off if he's diving for that wet. And he's just trying to cool them off. He's trying to get them ready.
You know, and talking a little bit about the fact of some of these big advantages of obviously, Kirkwood winning by 26 seconds. You go back to some of the older days in oval racing, Parker, when guys like Joseph Newgarden, some of these guys could win by a lap in an oval race. But on a natural terrain road course like this, nobody's going to pull away to a full lap. You're not going to see that happen. But again, we've seen a pretty big run by Kirkwood, like you said. Steve Wittick told us that Harvey with a big victory here by 17 seconds back in 2014. This could be one of the biggest ones we've seen on a road course in the last number of years, as the margin now 18.1 seconds. Although David Malucas trying to dial things in and close things back up a little bit. He and Lundqvist very similar in lap times.
So Kyle Kirkwood, you've got the championship locked up. Everything looks good. You're running almost 4 seconds off of the lead pace right now. Do you think cruise control? I don't know. A guy like Kyle, you gotta. I will comment on Kyle that he's a doctor in the way that he only pushes when he has to.
Listen, that's my mindset too here. You're here to do a job. Winning the race isn't what had to happen. You had to win the championship. That's the thing that he's got to do. Get out here, win this championship. You can see this battle forming right now. They're actually trying to go around Robert McGinnis, who I believe is potentially a lap down. We're seeing this battle between Benjamin Peterson and David Malucas. These guys are firing it up. Check this out. We may go too wide coming down in here. Malucas wants to put on a show here. They'll go down into the corner. Malucas down to the bottom, trying to make that pass stick to the inside of turn number 4. Malucas to the bottom of the racetrack. Book it. And he pushes wide. Does he stay on the racetrack? Parker, walk us through that pass, holding to the inside and keeping Peterson to his left. What a beautiful pass that was.
Well, this is the top rung of the road to Indy. I said that you try not to outbreak somebody, and David Malucas went out and did just that. Now, I will say Benjamin Peterson was very nice to him, gave him the space he needed. And you watch how long Benjamin kept his wheel straight. That was in case David didn't make the corner. It would be an easy under-over back into turn 5.
And they're going to give us a replay on it here, Parker. You're going to get a chance to walk us through this pass when it comes back on. It was a really good run there for David Malucas, holding Peterson to the outside, and I think you're right. Probably Peterson saying, I know this car beside me. Here's the replay here.
Textbook. Obviously brought him to the bottom side of the track, but then actually went down the inside, so they're both well off the driving line. You see Benjamin open up there. You saw how his car moved to the left more. He was making sure that if David didn't make it, he had the opportunity to do the under-over. So pretty textbook, great teammate racing there, but at the same time, going in there, they didn't give each other an inch.
And that puts Linus Lundqvist into P1, as we said. David Malucas, though, up to second, so it's still a 1-2-3 for HMD and Global Racing Group. Malucas with a good pass there, able to slip by. Not able to get that point for the most laps led. We'll see if he's able to reel him in over the last 11 laps. And then, of course, we've got Antonio Saravalli out of the race already. The worst that Kyle Kirkwood can finish is 11th, and that would give him enough points to score this championship. Lundqvist, Malucas, Peterson, Frost, DeFrancesco, the top 5. Kirkwood runs 6th. Stingray Robb in 7th. 8th is Rasmus Lint. 9th is Robert McGinnis. Christian Bogle in 10th. Manuel Suleiman in 11th. And Antonio Saravalli, we said, out on lap number 5. Kind
of funny, Rob. I do have to say, when I look at Kyle Kyle Kirkwood just picked up a second that last lap. So I'm wondering if Andretti's listening to the broadcast going, hey, they're telling you that you're 4 seconds off on the broadcast. You might want to pick up the pace just a little bit. You did win the championship already.
Kyle, you wouldn't believe what Parker said about you on the broadcast. Oh, yeah?
Wouldn't be the first time.
I got more here, indeed. Yeah, he got down to a 142 flat. He's about 4 seconds behind Devlin DiFrancesco. You got to think he's on just kind of on cruise control right now. And for these drivers, we've talked about some of the guys, even Christian Rasmussen yesterday, that last lap, that cool-down lap, once you've won that championship. This really, the way things have rolled out, this is Kyle Kirkwood essentially having to stay focused knowing that he's already got that championship done. All that pressure coming up to the end of the season here to try to win this title and going back and forth with Malucas, 5 points up, 3 points up, back and forth on race wins, to now be able to spend essentially the second half of this race with that realization knowing that he's got the title. You have to still stay focused. You're driving an Indy Lights car in treacherous conditions.
Well, not only do you have to stay focused, but listen, championship or not, once you've won it, I mean, Andretti Autosport can tell him, Kyle, you've won the championship. You don't want to finish, I take it back to the Kyle Kaiser win in the rain. He won the championship. All he had to do is start the race, and I believe he finished almost dead last in that race. Not how you want to win a championship. I mean, I like the Christian Rasmussen win the race, lock it up. That feels a heck of a lot better headed into the offseason than finishing. When is the last time Kyle's finished out the outside of the top 5?
Yeah, listen, you have to go back. Has he done it even yet? Just the one race. Two race. First race of the year, finished 9th after the contact in turn number 1, and then that race at Road America with the mechanical, he ends up finishing in the 12th position.
Well, and funny enough, I think he just got by Daniel Frost there for 5th, so he's back inside the top 5. Maybe he's listening to me just a little bit.
I think maybe listening to the radio, switching that radio to listen to the Road to Indy call here. He has indeed potentially by Daniel Frost back up into P5 for Kyle Kirkwood. One thing, folks, we do have things dialed in once again for the podium presentation, so we will be able to have interviews with our podium drivers down there, so stay tuned with the broadcast. Of course, we're going to come right out of that into a quick break, right into the final race of the 2021 Road to Indy season. Indy Pro 2000 drivers getting set to go. And, of course, Christian Rasmussen, we'll see what he can do to potentially get a race win. But Hunter Macri will be starting on the pole after a great run in the wet qualifying. We will have post-race interviews here on Road to Indy TV as part of the Indy Lights package. But right now it's Linus Lundqvist out front. And again, I don't think we can talk enough about how big it will be for Linus to be able to get a win here in these tough conditions. That would be huge for him, and like you said, that momentum moving his way into the offseason.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's contract season again. I've said that a few times on this broadcast, but if you're not going to win the championship, you need to prove that you belong either in the series you're in again or the series above you, which is IndyCar. An interesting note coming in, Kyle Kirkwood, not to bring him back up, but I believe this is his first loss on the road to Indy ever at Mid-Ohio.
At Mid-Ohio. Yeah, he's never not won here in his 3 years running in the road to Indy. And again, another thing we'll give him here as well, now that the series is clinched, first time ever in the history of the road to Indy, a driver has won all 3 rungs all the way up. USF 2000 champion in 2018, Indy Pro 2000 champion in 2019, and now the Indy Lights title winner in 2021. He is now putting some pressure on Devlin DiFrancesco. Kirkwood trying to work his way up to P4. We're not done with wheel-to-wheel racing. The Andretti Steinbrenner driver, DiFrancesco the 17, Kirkwood, obviously for Andretti Autosport in the number 28.
I'm calling it, Rob. Somebody told him he was 4 seconds off and he won the championship because right there he did a 140.5, which is a good enough pace for really to be in third.
Yep.
You've obviously got the 2 front runners at a 138.9, which is still 2 seconds up the road. But at the same time, somebody told Kyle, "Hey, it's all done, pal. Let's go run a good race."
Yeah, you can look good right now.
Yes.
You don't need to cruise around.
We don't need to cruise around.
You can show us a little bit more if you'd like. Kirkwood, of course, the new champion for the Indy Lights program, just turned his fast lap, as Parker had said, a 140.507. 8 laps remaining here, 22 laps down. Linus Lundqvist and David Malucas, very similar in terms of their fastest lap times. Lundqvist a 138.91, Malucas a 138.86. Malucas with the fast lap so far. It's a 15.6 second gap. Remember, we were 18 at one point. Malucas is chipping away here, trying to see if he can't work his way back up so we could potentially have a battle here late in the run. We'll keep watching lap times. Last time by, Malucas quicker by 2 seconds from Lundqvist. And again, we may have a battle here between DiFrancesco and Kyle Kirkwood. As you can see them coming down across the start-finish, that's the gap between 4th and 5th.
It's interesting. I think Linus is probably managing his tires. If it goes to a restart, he wants to make sure he's got some Cooper tire rubber left. Obviously, the 26-second lead probably looks a little out of touch. And at that point, you've already decimated the field.
Yep.
You don't need to continue to kill your tires and risk a potential win taken away when you get to the end of the race and a restart. As we see here, though, some real different lines by Devlin and by Kyle. Looks like Kyle's going to have a run here. These guys could be potential IndyCar rivals. So if I'm Devlin, I'm not letting this newly crowned Indy Lights champion go by without a fight. I'm sure his engineers told him, hey, Kyle does have the championship locked up, so you can rough him up just a little bit if you'd like.
Gloves are off, baby. What do you think about the dry line right now? I'm kind of thinking foreshadowing to Indy Pro 2000. Does a dry line, like they're not really running the dry line when they're running the outside line, so that inside line is going to still be pretty wet, right?
Well, Rob, my markers generally, when it gets 10 seconds back to its original qualifying time,
Yep.
That's when you start thinking about putting on slick tires or not. It's still super treacherous. You can see the guys sliding around everywhere. It's probably going to get a little worse in terms of some of the corners are dry on the outside, and it's going to be eating away at that Cooper tire rubber, but at the same time, it's still wet. I think they're a ways away from putting on full slick tires.
Yeah, that would be around 121 lap time. We're turning 139, so we're, as Parker said, still 18 seconds away anywhere that anybody would even think about going into that dry tire. Still a long ways away. The track's significantly damp. That's one of the things about this racetrack. It doesn't dry that quickly either, even if the rain would stop.
No, it's older pavement. It's got more, let's call it crevices and little holes in it, so it tends to hold the water quite well. It's not a windy day here at Mid-Ohio. Usually we get wind, and wind is what helps dry it out. It's a pretty calm day, and it's kind of a socked-in day. You know, we don't see the sun, a lot of clouds everywhere. Not what you'd call a championship Sunday,
No,
but
sure
at the
enough.
same time, we're crowning champions.
One more to lock and load as well. We know that Kiko Porto winning the USF 2000 championships, locking that in yesterday. Kyle Kirkwood has done so here today in Indy Lights. And, of course, Christian Rasmussen, all he needs to do is start the Indy Pro 2000 race here later today to be able to get that crown, his second in a row, very much like Kirkwood winning last year in the USF 2000, backing it up with an Indy Pro 2000 championship at the green flag today. A couple drivers working their way through that, I believe, is Christian Bogle in the number 7, currently running in the 10th spot. 16 seconds the lead for Linus Lundqvist, but he turned his fast lap last time by. 16 seconds is maybe enough for him. I want a bigger cushion when it comes to Malucas because he just turned his fast lap a 137.68.
Well, Robbie just put in a lap a second faster than David Malucas, and you know, we're looking at 3 or 4 seconds faster than the rest of the field. So I honestly think Linus and his engineering group there at Global Racing Group, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think they're just managing that gap in case of a restart. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't realize you can lose a race so easy by not managing a big gap.
Very true. Explain more of that. Pushing so hard, you burn the tires up, you come back to a yellow, right?
Exactly. You know, you get that late yellow, which I would say the chances are fairly high here around a place like Mid-Ohio. We've got 5 minutes remaining. So right now is at the time where if we went yellow, it could go green for that 1 or 2 lap spurt. And if you don't have your Cooper tires under you nice and cooled off and ready to go, if you've been burning them off trying to get that 26-second lead or the fastest lap of the race, you're a sitting duck.
Indeed, 6 laps remaining in the race, but only 5 minutes and 18 seconds on the time clock. So I assume we could be at a timed race here now. And again, I think what we're looking at for the start for the USF 2000 or the Indy Pro 2000 race as well. We'll look at the timeline for that because that's going to be coming up here momentarily as well to cap off our final race of the season. But again, Lundqvist leading right now, again, by 16 seconds over his teammate David Malucas. It's been an up and down day for Malucas. What a roller coaster for him going off at the start. First of all, qualifying on the pole, keeping the dream alive. Then he goes off in the opening corner. Then he fights his way back to second. That is going to be an emotional roller coaster for this young driver.
Well, and I don't know, but those 4 laps, I really thought there was a chance if the team said, hey, we're doing a swap, and then we'll switch you guys back at the end of the race if Kyle's got it wrapped up.
Yep.
I really thought that was what we were going to see on the screen. Obviously didn't come to fruition with Antonio Saravalli dropping out of the race a little early, and we have crowned a champion. But, you know, to the victor goes the spoils, but we know that Linus Lundqvist is going to be pretty eager to cap off his season with a win, go back to Sweden, and start negotiating for next year.
That's it. 2021 Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tire season. Capping off here, the final laps coming up with the VP Racing Fuels Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio. Linus Lundqvist for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports, looking to log his third race win of the year as he leads his teammates David Malucas and Benjamin Peterson. It'll be all orange podium when we get out there after this race.
One of the things to note, Rob, and for the fans at home, you probably heard me call the 4 or 5 minutes to go. Again, as we explained in the USF 2000 race, if we get to that end of the lap, which is we're supposed to complete 30 laps, or it's 45 minutes or 50 minutes is what it looks like.
Yep.
And we're going to hit that 50-minute mark before we hit the 30-lap mark. So it looks like this race has got just over 3 minutes to go, and that's what the race is actually going to end on, is the time instead of the laps.
Just outside that top three on the podium, Devlin DeFrancesco in the 4th spot. Kyle Kirkwood back by 1.5 seconds. Put a bit of pressure on there for a number of laps, but to settle back into the 5th spot. Daniel Frost runs 6th. Stingray Robb ahead of Rasmuth Lint in the 7th position. Robert McGinnis 8th. Bogle, Suleiman, and Saravalli out on lap number 5, as we had mentioned. Lundqvist leading now by 16.3 seconds as the time clicks away. There is DeFrancesco and your champion-elect Kyle Kirkwood in the number 28. 3 straight championship, 3 straight years, reset the record books in terms of overall wins on the road to Indy, tied Greg Moore for the number of wins in Indy Lights in a single season, wins at 7 victories. Parker, you can't ask for much more out of a young driver coming through this road to Indy to do what he has done. 3 straight championships, leveraging the scholarships along the way. This guy, I got to say, is a generational talent because he's been able to do everything he needs to do coming up the ranks.
100%, Rob. And I think what makes Kyle Kirkwood really cynical is the fact that he's got the smarts to place himself in the best spots, too. You know, you notice there was a lot of drama to his arrival into Indy Pro 2000. Possibly signed with another team, shows up to preseason testing with another. A lot of things have happened, but him and his group have always seemed to make the best calls to place himself in the best position. And take it from my first-person experience, that's so important on the road to Indy. It's not just being fast. It's also placing yourself in good positions, not only financially, but with the group of people that gets behind you and drives you to wins.
Yeah. No doubt. I believe we're going to see white flag next time by for Linus Lundqvist. But, yeah, talking about Kyle Kirkwood, Cape Motorsports obviously came in, was able to dominate with them. Had issues at the very start of the season, but went on to win the championship. Then he moved to RP Motorsport USA, and the same thing, was able to had some issues early. Got a good run midway through the season. Squeaked out a championship at Laguna Seca by just 1 point after getting taken out in the opening lap of the final race. And then, of course, making the move here after a year's hiatus to join up with Andretti Autosport to pilot that number 28 machine. It's been a great run for him through his 3-year career.
Well, and again, Rob, it was a bumpy start, too, to his Andretti Autosport career. So that just seems to be Kyle Kirkwood. But at the end of the day, I've always said this, you want to have the momentum on the back half, not the front half.
So let's wrap things up here now. Linus Lundqvist, I believe we may see Checker. I know we heard that it was going to be white flag. Linus was kind of out ahead there. I'm not sure whether or not this will be Checker or the white flag, but again, capping off the race here for Lundqvist, 13.2 seconds. Probably a bit on cruise control here for him as well on the final couple of laps as he's going to bring this home for his 3rd race win. It's been a tremendous performance here in tough conditions for the young Swedish driver Linus Lundqvist for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports. I believe this will be the final circuit coming out of turn 12 and 13. And indeed, Linus Lundqvist looking for the checker flags. We got him. Or is that the white there?
That looks white.
Man, that's what happens when the guys in the production here, we're not quite sure how far ahead. This is the white flag lap right now. And how good is this going to feel? I know we haven't done a lot of this throughout the season. This kind of a lead, white flag lap, what are your thoughts?
Well, not to cut you off, Rob, but it's too funny. These guys are battling for the fastest lap of the race, David and Linus. So David Malucas set a 37.5 last time by. Linus Lundqvist just set a 37.5. You're 1 lap away from winning by 15 seconds. You know you're competing for something. And now David Malucas, only man to get into the 36s with a 36.2. They're keeping it, you know what? They're making our job easy. They're keeping it interesting.
Well, the worry, now what does he do, push really hard and drive off? Don't do that. Just bring it home.
Well, the funny part is you don't even get a point in Indy Lights. I learned that yesterday, obviously, with the push to pass. Although we don't have push to pass this weekend, nor in the rain. Do they get push to pass in the rain if it's a dry race?
Another question.
Or if it's a
I would not think so. I don't know that you need push to pass 50 more horsepower when you can hardly hold on to the 450 you got. So, guys, final lap here for Linus Lundqvist. We know that. We saw Aaron Likens throw the white flag, and it is a just under a 12-second lead as Malucas putting down some good laps. But Lundqvist, for the last time down into Thunder Valley at turn number 9. What a great way to finish off the season for this guy here. Again, showing what he is made of here. Potentially maybe IndyCar next year, maybe back for Indy Lights to contend for the championship or the scholarship. Here he comes now out of turn number 12 through the carousel. Out of turn number 13 from Sweden. Third win on the season for Global Racing Group and HMD Motorsports. The winner is Linus Lundqvist. David Malucas, a further 12 seconds in a drift. He'll come out to finish second place in the points. 7 wins on the season for Malucas. An unbelievable run for that driver. Benjamin Peterson, another podium finish, another top 5.
Kyle Kirkwood off the track.
Kyle Kirkwood did just drive off the track. On the final lap, Kirkwood goes off the racetrack. Daniel Frost able to go through to grab 6th. So Kirkwood overcooking it coming down into turn number 4. What is happening? Am I getting punked right now? He goes off the racetrack. Let's see if Kirkwood can come back on. What is happening? This is like a twilight zone of racing here this particular weekend. DeFrancesco then waiting for them to come around to complete lap number 29. Literally, we came 1 lap short based on the length of the race as well. The longer the lap times, oftentimes within our time window, not able to get them all done, we end up with 29 laps in total.
I think I know what happened. Kyle Kirkwood, his grandma's down there in turn 5 and 6. His whole family's down there. I'm sure he's taken just a moment to seep it in, and he seeped some gravel in.
He did so. He went all the way off the racetrack, waiting for these guys to come across to finish it off here right now. Devlin DeFrancesco going to come home, I believe, in the 4th position. 5th, I think, is going to be Daniel Frost. 6th will be Kyle Kirkwood, falling back that 1 position. He'll cruise on right, and he's literally going to essentially stop by his crew on the start-finish line here, coming out at the pit lane wall. Kyle Kirkwood, back-to-back jacks in the championships here. USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. The only driver we've ever seen do that before. Kirkwood finishing still, I believe, in the 5th spot. It looks like coming across the line. Daniel Frost ends up in 6th.
Well, Frost actually, I think that was a gentleman move. I'm pretty sure he let Kirkwood back by after Kirkwood dusted off the gravel.
Stingray Rob 7th, Rasmuth Lind 8th, Robert McGinnis 9th, Christian Bogle 10th, Manuel Suleiman 11th, and Antonio Saravalli rounding out the top 12. 13-point win for Kyle Kirkwood over David Malucas in the championship.
Not a lot, but it's just enough. Rob, thank you so much for joining me in the booth. Rob he's got the headset off. He's going to be running down to Victory Lane to welcome not only Linus Lundqvist to Victory Lane, but more importantly, the victor of the season, Kyle Kirkwood, champion of the 2021 Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. What a feat, $1.2 million to go out and shop himself around for an IndyCar ride. If I'm an IndyCar owner, I'm going, you know what, he's got money and he's got talent. No reason why he shouldn't be there. As we see Kyle, he's taking his time. He just finished off an Indy Lights Championship, and he's doing donuts. That's what we like to see in the rain. Don't need to save that clutch and engine for next year. They'll be rebuilding it in the off-season. I'm pretty sure his family is still down there, so that's very cool. Obviously, his grandma, he's quite vocal at. His grandma comes to just about every single race. She's an absolute sweetheart of a lady. His family doesn't come to much races, but I believe he's all here. I didn't even know he had siblings. Supposedly, he's got a brother and a sister that are here at the race, so we give a shout-out to them that are in turn 5 and 6. Obviously, they just did donuts, but we're back to Victory Lane with Linus Lundqvist. Way to cap off a season, Linus. It is contract season, and there's no better way to get some offers for next year than to go out and dominate the wet race. The Swedish fish, you put him in water and he swims downriver compared to everybody else. Gives his Global Racing Group team owner, Mr. Peterson, a hug. What a fantastic win for him. Definitely makes going into the offseason just a little bit better. Obviously, he probably wanted 2 spots better than 3rd place overall, but at the same time, coming in here dominating, get 3 wins and dominating in the wet, the great equalizer, as he gives his girlfriend a hug, Mike Marini, the team manager at HMD Motorsports. They're all giving high fives. And HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group ends up 1-2-3. What a dominant victory for them to end on a high note. That's great for the team, too. Obviously, if they're in negotiations with the drivers for next year, no better team to go to than the guys that finished 1-2-3 at the end of the year. We'll give Linus some time to take off that helmet, and Hans. It's always nice to soak in these moments. Not a lot of people realize you only get a few races a year to win. And we will throw it down to Rob Howden, who's going to get to talk with Linus Lundqvist after his victory.
Thank you so much, Parker. Linus, I'm telling you, man, to be able to finish the season off like that in these kind of conditions to show what kind of a driver you are, give me your thoughts on what was a great race.
No, I think firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to my team. You know, they put in so much effort during the season, and obviously it was a long time since we were here to win a race, so it feels really good to be back. And a special thank you to my title sponsor this weekend, Avionic, as well. It was good to bring a win for them.
Tell me about the conditions. There were guys that were having tons of trouble. You and David Malucas actually were pretty good after he went off early. You were able to control it. How tough was it out there?
It's always tough in these conditions, especially when you have someone like David or anyone else behind you who's chasing you. But, you know, I think we were able to sort of control it a little bit, obviously look after the tires because it started to dry up fairly quickly. So it was always that balance on how much you want to push, how much you want to save, but just super happy to be able to stand here today.
We did this before when you won the first time. You want to say any words in Sweden to your fans back home?
I mean, I'd love to. I think a lot of you are watching from home, så tack så jättemycket för att ni stannar upp och tittar på mig. Jag vet att vi hade en liten svacka nu senast där i halvan av säsongen, men jäkligt skönt att få avsluta på det här sättet och så hoppas jag att vi är tillbaka starkt nästa år, vad det än blir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Again, fantastic driver here, folks. An amazing job. An amazing job, of course, again, by Linus Lundqvist. Let's get his teammate here right now as well. Let's come over, Michael, and grab a hold of David Malucas. David's having a chat with the crew. David, my goodness, talk about putting on a show for us. It was going to be super hard for you to win the championship. We knew that. You end up going off in turn one, but you storm back to second. What a drive.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just us struggling. It was the safety car as well, and I couldn't get any temp, and I was like, oh, I'm just stuck in first gear. I'm like, come on. And as soon as I go into one, it just locks up. And I'm like, well, that was kind of expected. So we go out, everybody starts spinning and sliding everywhere, but, man, what a race. I mean, that was almost better than a win for me. I made it hard for myself, and I was like, you know what, let's just have some fun. And left, right, oh, man, I made this track kind of like I owned it. Yeah, my private playground. I like that, yeah.
Hey, listen, you look back at the season, obviously second in the points. You wanted to win the championship, but you won 7 races this year. You got to look back and say, man, this is when I really came out as a top-level driver.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so happy. Even though we got second, I think we've shown what we can do. The team has done amazing. Coming from 2019, I mean, if you told me that we were fighting for the championship, I would be laughing. So I'm so happy. I mean, even though it's second, it's still a win for me.
David, congratulations.
Thank you.
David Malucas, guys, tremendous run. Let's walk over here right now. Get over here, my friend. You are now the champion of Indy Lights.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, my gosh, I don't even know what to say. Lost for words. Just so much relief. Man, I heard Antonio got out of the car, and I was like, does that mean that we won it? I'm not really sure, but we just weren't fast in the wet there, and it was just so treacherous. Even when it was drying, I mean, we were just so slow, and I was making massive mistakes just putting around the track, it felt like. So, and to take it home and get that checker, man, it's such a big relief. I mean,
we've done this before, too, right? You obviously USF 2000 champion, Indy Pro 2000 champion. That year's super tight as well. First driver ever to win all 3 championships. That's something as well. Give me your emotion on that.
it's insane. I mean, I can't thank the Andretti guys enough. RP, Cape, everyone through it. It's incredible. Got lost for words right now.
Let's give you a chance to talk about this team. Obviously, you said you were with Cape Motorsports, you know, the juggernaut legends of USF 2000 racing. You were here for RP Motorsports to help get them a championship. But being able to spend some time with this Andretti Autosport crew, talk about raising your game as well.
Man, I've learned so much this year. Andretti has brought me up, and they've took me in, even with the IndyCar side, and they've taught me so much. I couldn't be any more grateful than I already am for these guys back here. Hats off to my entire 28 crew. Got Doug, J-Rob, Dalton, Carlos. They've done a phenomenal job all year. No mistakes. Everything was perfect. And unfortunately, I had some mistakes, but we're able to overcome those and had some decent days.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Kyle Kirkwood, folks, your champion in Indy Lights for 2021. 3 straight championships. He has a $1.3 million scholarship to go to IndyCar in 2022.